The bridge to this working out is not that fucking long, dude. It's just a big leap, right? It's just like people are putting their jobs on the line when they do this stuff, right? But what confidence that Arthur Blank has in Terry Fontenot to allow him to make this pick. I mean, this is wild. And if you look at the way they picked, and this is when I look back, it actually made a lot more sense. They don't do things normal in Atlanta. They took a running back at 8 last year. They took a slow receiver the year before who panned out pretty fucking good, if you ask me. They took a tweener kind of tight end who I'm not going to blame his struggles on him individually. I think with a better system, with a better coach, with just better shit around him, where they actually target him, I think it'll be better. They've drafted AJ Terrell. They've drafted Chris Lindstrom. Those are their first round picks. So listen, I trust. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Yeah, well, if the pick is in, for fuck's sake, let's get this thing going, huh?
Gotta be a corner.
All right, so this is the start of our draft review. We're watching the Eagles pick. We'll tell you what we think in real time. We're going to go back through the first 22 picks and then the final 10 picks, right? There's only 10 more. Or am I, Meg?
That's about right.
We'll review those as they come in. So here's the Eagles pick, number 22.
At the moment, corner still on the board. Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean.
I think they get
Nate
Kool-Aid
Wiggins.
after they paid AJ so he doesn't get upset.
And the best of the bunch, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., who will likely be selected on Friday.
Roger Goodell's ambling out on stage because
I
think it was JC Latham
Yes.
picked him up like a child, didn't read the injury report. The guy's fucking got a back. Let's see if I can read his lips. Cooper DeJean be the number one selling jersey in the NFL shop next year. Who's it going to be?
We're waiting on the Chiron.
I like defensive secondary. There's no reaction yet.
TV is muted with the 22nd pick. Holy hell, is he reading a PSA?
Jesus Christ. Come on, Raj. We're going to get this show on the road. It's getting late. You at home, you already know what happened. You have an opinion on it. Can't wait to hear if we have an opinion on it.
Kool-Aid.
Jesus, Roger.
Roger backwards is Rajor.
Better be shouting out taps or something. I don't wait this long for a pick unless it's for the military. Oh, Jordan Mailata's giving the pick. In Melbourne, mate. In front of a bunch of fucking rocks. Jordan, you couldn't have picked a better spot?
Look at that construction in the back. There are 3 cranes.
He looks great, though. He's doing great. Wow. Quinyon Mitchell.
Cornerback Toledo.
Okay.
Toledo.
Could have gone anywhere he wanted this past year. Stayed at Toledo.
That's a guy with character.
So I don't need your NIL money.
That's great. It's a guy with character.
I'm going to play at Toledo and go in the first round.
That's awesome. Good for him. All right. So we're going to go back through the draft now. What are we doing here?
Caleb Williams, number 1 overall. No surprise. Kyle was as stoked as a bird around here. Threw his arms up, happy as a clam. We didn't have any other thoughts, right? There wasn't another
No,
shot.
I have no thoughts. We're going to go to the next pick, Reed.
Very few thoughts. Yeah.
No, I mean, I have thoughts. The thoughts to me are like, why did they always congratulate each other in the draft rooms? They knew what the fuck they were doing for like a month now.
And why did it take almost 10 minutes to get the pick?
Why does it take so long? I really think the networks mandate that.
For the first pick, it has to be mandated.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, like Caleb Williams, obviously a very confident guy. I think that's going to rub some people wrong, but it's also I think it also could earn the respect of his teammates. I think that's where people don't understand is like we look at a guy and we're like, man, he's confident. That rubs me wrong. But it helps to be confident in an NFL locker room. The only thing that fucking matters is can he play football?
Does nail polish on your quarterback scare you?
Why? Why are you asking? I haven't heard anything about this.
He was wearing nail polish.
Really?
Yes.
When?
He had silver nail polish on before he walked into
Like for the
green
first
room.
time
Yeah.
today?
No.
He's been doing this?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Anyways, that concludes our draft coverage.
Who told us this week or less, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was, oh my God, he has a tattoo.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what
Oh.
Daniel Jeremiah said. I thought it was a great point.
And
I don't know if it's a good point or not, but it sounded like a good point to me.
we can talk about Rome properly in a minute, but you pair Caleb Williams with Rome Odunze at 9,
No question.
which is awesome.
No question.
Amazing.
And I think also, like, we look at this thing, all these guys are going to be judged equally. Same standard, very high standard. First 3 quarterbacks taken, the top 5 picks. But look at the delta between the situations that Caleb Williams and even Jaden Daniels walking into and Drake May. It's the same objective, it's the same assignment. Anything less than, they talk about it with Caleb Williams, division championships and, Pro Bowls or whatever, however you want to say it. Anything less, they're gonna be talking about the decision. And so I just think when you look at Drake May's situation, it is a far cry from what like Caleb Williams is walking into. Rome, you've got DJ Moore, you've got
Keenan Allen.
Kmet, you've got a backfield full of studs, I feel like, and an offensive line that they're gonna improve and chip away at. I'm excited to watch this offense. I really am. Seeing him hold the jersey up. You're looking at edits for months now, like him in a uniform. Seeing him hold up that number 1 jersey, it looked pretty cool. I was like, Bears fans are going to be hyped.
You mentioned Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift, right? Those
We didn't even
Bears-
mention them.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, like, look at
One of us mentioned him.
Good for
Yeah.
him.
Hoop in the potty.
Hey, on
pooped in
me.
the potty.
Hand
Well,
up.
he's here, for fuck's sake. It's after 10 o'clock. I'm shocked. Okay, so anyways, you want to take it away with the next one?
Yeah, after the quarterbacks, I mean, if we're sticking with the quarterbacks, I think you said it. Jaden's walking into a better situation than Drake, whose top target is probably Pop Douglas, who's not Scary Terry or Jahan Dotson. Time will tell. But Pat's stuck at 3. A lot of sticking and picking tonight. Not a whole lot of trading outside of the Minnesota Vikings.
ESPN was pretty disappointed that we weren't getting the trades. They kept being like, this could be the moment. So we got through. Yeah,
Drake May wore a pair of pants with belt loops and no belt and no suspenders.
did he really?
Yeah,
Can I just say something before we get on to the non-quarterbacks?
please.
I feel like I'm dreaming. You turn on the TV and fucking Detroit is cool. Like, Detroit's always been cool. I don't want anybody from Detroit to get mad at me and kick my ass. But I mean, like, in the scope of the NFL, like, they're winning this week. They had Eminem up there. They had like 5 great recognizable players up there. When's the last time the Detroit Lions could trot out 5 guys that everybody knows who they are? They didn't even have to put chyrons under them.
And they're not picking until 29.
No, I know.
That's the best news
These
of
guys
all.
are still out here partying.
Nice little bounce back for them because they just got a Detroit sign. I don't know if you've seen that went viral.
No.
They kind of got like how Hollywood has a big sign? They have like a Detroit one on the side of the road in
Oh,
Detroit.
Side of the road. That
And
sounds about right.
Yeah, and a lot
Oh,
of
Whatever it
exit
is in
47.
Detroit, it's on the side of
there's
the
a
fucking road.
rapper. There's a rapper who made like a rap about it, and it's really funny. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to rappers that much, except for when Maxo Cream comes in town. All right, so anyways, the night started with Roger Goodell saying, "Let's go, Big D." And he was
It's so
like,
cold
He
in
was
the
like,
D.
"Yo, M, here you go."
So first 3 picks are chalk. How'd you guys feel about Drake May in New England?
Listen, it's going to be an uphill battle. It really is, dude. It just is. And so, we'll find out if this kid's good. The cupboard's totally bare.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of guys walking into a situation even that bad. So,
When the cupboard's bare, usually don't start with quarterback.
no, you don't usually. But seems like Gerard Mayo wants to get quarterbacking. You know what I mean? You're the guy following Bill Belichick. You don't think they're going to give you a bunch of time, right? So those guys, new GM, they never had one before. New head coach, they go QB. Anyways,
First,
4.
Yeah, so the first 14 picks are all offensive players. The first non-quarterback taken, Marvin Harrison Jr., legacy player. We saw the graphic on the screen
Yeah.
talking about first-round picks, the son of their father.
2 of those motherfuckers were sitting on the couch here doing nothing.
Mhm.
They're like just totally washed
How do you
up.
like that fit with Kyler?
I love the fit. I'll tell you, how many wide receivers get picked in top 5 and get to go into a situation with a quarterback that's thought of? I know people are down on Kyler, but I think he's very talented. And I think the new regime got more out of him last year from a discipline standpoint than the last one. How many wide receivers get to walk into a room like that? There's really not a lot. I mean, if somebody has the answer at home, certainly tweet us or whatever, but I can't think of a lot of guys that get picked this high, generational talent type wide receivers that walk into a room that, quite frankly, you're going to have the pressure off you from the minute you walk in the door. They run the football, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
pew pew.
Well, pew pew. They weren't pew pewing last year, and I think that was part of the tension, if there was any, with Kyler. And the new scheme was like they put the handcuffs on him a little bit, where he wasn't able to improvise the way he was the year before. But if he settles into this thing and he realizes that this takes pressure off him, it's going to take pressure off the young wide receiver. They run the football.
Like, respectfully as can be, I've not heard of their second wide receiver in Arizona.
Well, it was like Rondell Moore. I love Dortch.
He's a guy called Michael Wilson.
Michael Wilson came on, dude. Michael Wilson's a player.
Third rounder out of Stanford last year.
Michael Wilson's a player. He was just up and down. That was the biggest complaint on Michael Wilson. He'd go off and then kind of come back down to earth. So
and they got a great tight end in Trey McBride.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you something they can do with Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson blocks his ass off. Mm-hmm. So, it like fits into who they are. And I'm sure Marvin Harrison Jr., with his kind of like background, he's going to be a hard worker. He's going to block. He's going to get his hands dirty. Hollow man Howie Long, because Marvin Harrison Jr. had a necklace on with him and his dad. And I didn't have a necklace for my dad, and I'm sorry. So I just want to take a minute.
2 chances.
Yeah, he was 0 for 2 on kids fucking putting him on iced out necklaces.
Y'all made the graphic, though.
Say again?
Y'all made the graphic, though.
We did make the graphic. We made the graphic.
So first big surprise, first decent sized surprise. Joe Alt, friend of the program, goes to the Chargers at 5. Feels like a Harbaugh pick.
It did. That was the first thing we said, was like, man, like, just – and listen, there was immediately like, oh, Tennessee's probably mad. But maybe Tennessee is like us and thinks there's maybe a couple tackles you could kind of take. And it's hard to separate one from any of them. But you really like the guy from Bama, Latham. And that's who Tennessee ended up with. Maybe they're happy at the end of the day that the Chargers went with Alton, not Latham.
Probably the deepest position, and how often do you get the top guy out of position? Right, not often.
Right, exactly.
High bust rate.
I do think Alt he's safe.
Safe.
He's like me at the blackjack table.
Say a 6. Safe 6.
He's safe. But no, I mean, like, I do think he's going to play a long time. I do think there are guys who are more talented than him in this draft.
Well,
and that's okay.
You protect Justin Herbert. Pretty simple.
No question. And, you add him to Slater. I don't know if he's got to switch sides.
Joe Alt said he could play either side.
Yeah,
in the interview, but I would expect him to play him at left.
What they have to decide, though, is Trey Pipkins started the last 2 at right tackle.
Yep.
So what are they going to move him inside? Is he good enough to do that?
Yep.
He signed a 3-year, almost $22 million deal.
I'm sure they signed him knowing that he could slide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got to trade in real time. The Cowboys are trading. We're all the way at the 24th pick in the draft. It's almost fucking midnight.
Detroit's coming up.
Probably
Detroit is moving up.
DeGene, maybe.
They got to get this DeGene kid. Talk about another jersey that would sell like hotcakes. Right. A white corner in Detroit.
Another one that might sell well. Macon might grab it. Nabers to the Giants at 6.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I love it. Not the most talented wide receiver room. It's a bit of a start over for the Giants, and had they repeated the Daniel Jones mistake with the quarterback, I think you're looking at it's a lottery pick for another rebuild.
You believe in Daniel?
No.
Okay, so
it's better to be in purgatory than hell.
If you don't believe in him, like,
I don't want to throw darts at any of the non-top 3 guys in this draft.
That's a valid point. Now, say you were picking one, you're going to go with Caleb, right?
For sure.
We made that calculus with Justin Fields. I would have said, hey, keep them both, or I was brave enough to say keep Justin. We'll see how that plays out. But like, if you were the Giants and you got Daniel Jones, I don't think he has the upside where you're keeping him if you're picking one. But to your point, I totally get standing pat. And this is a guy that can play inside and out. So,
right.
You immediately
6 feet tall, 200 pounds. Jamar Chase is the comp.
Yep.
And
it's a pretty good comp.
Pretty good comp. I mean, the Giants were at 6 when they took Daniel Jones. They passed on a lot of really good players.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we mentioned the Titans at 7, taking J.C. Latham. You know, they might have wanted Joe Alt. Who knows? Maybe their grade on Latham was the highest. Feels like a solid pick.
Virginia went 3-0 against Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones threw 9 picks against Virginia to 3 touchdowns. Okay?
Yeah.
But-
I'd like to see if that holds up. We could like compare that to some other like quarterbacks.
Yeah.
that came out of the ACC. You know what I
Virginia
loved-
beat
you know what I
Drake
loved-
May this year.
You know what I loved about Latham was he hugged the shit out of Goodell.
He's had the
And
most swag so
good-
far.
Oh, buddy, he looked great in his suit. Also,
Yeah.
like an impressive looking guy in his suit. Bo Allen got to talk to him on the red carpet there, and the dude's massive. I think the physicality. He talked about his arm length. To be built the way he's built.
That suit.
You know, the guy from Penn State, Fashanu, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. I was there on the sideline for a game,
Mhm.
and he's built like one of those vintage tackles. Like he's just long. Like everything about him is long. He's got that like basketball look about him, but he's big enough to play the position. This guy doesn't look like a basketball player, Latham. Latham looks like a guy that clears motherfuckers out of a room, dude.
Yeah.
He looks like he's wearing a tight black t-shirt
Works at a
outside of a
bar.
nightclub. All right. So that's the kind of guy I want road grading in the run game. And I'm excited for the Titans. I think this is really good. Everything they're doing seems to be, hey, we believe in this quarterback, right? You know, the owner, we talked about this a couple times, when they made the new hire, she called the quarterback out individually. We've got an exciting young quarterback. They add pieces at wide receiver in the secondary. I think they've crushed it this offseason. And to add a tackle, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying, let's see if this guy's got it.
Speaking of believing in your quarterback, Falcons shock everybody taking Michael Penix Jr. at 8. Kirk Cousins didn't know about it until they were on the clock.
Well, neither did the Vikings. They didn't know about it until, the press conference, right? The tampering bullshit.
Right. Are you guys surprised what Atlanta did though?
Yes, dude. I'm surprised.
So surprised that I like it.
I do too. That's what I'm saying. And I'm like trying to talk myself into it. All right, let's work this out. In the bad column, if we're saying this is the Packers model, which I like, in the bad column, somebody might say, well, Kirk's on a 4-year deal. That doesn't bother me as much as these factors. Penix would
Just
be.
so I'm clear, is Kirk Brett Favre in this
No,
scenario, or
he's
is it
Brett Favre,
Aaron
I guess.
Rodgers?
Something like that.
Okay.
Or Rodgers to Love to.
Okay.
But the whole thing for me is, you've got a guy coming off an Achilles who's 36 years old, and you add a guy who's got a bunch of injuries, right?
2 ACLs.
And a guy that's going to be, if you project the Jordan Love thing, he'll be like 27 when that thing happens.
He's 24 in 2 weeks. Yep.
And you know what? Maybe you are doing something revolutionary here. You're planning for the back 9, right? You're saying, hey, we might spend a pick on a guy at 8 who might give us 5 good years.
In college basketball, they say get old and stay old.
So I've not heard that.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, if this works out, the bridge to this working out is not that fucking long, dude. It's just a big leap, right? It's just like people are putting their jobs on the line when they do this stuff, right? But what confidence that Arthur Blank has in Terry Fontenot to allow him to make this pick. I mean, this is wild. And if you look at the way they picked, and this is when I look back, it actually made a lot more sense. They don't do things normal in Atlanta. They took a running back at 8 last year. They took a slow receiver the year before who panned out pretty fucking good, if you ask me. They took a tweener kind of tight end who I'm not going to blame his struggles on him individually. I think with a better system, with a better coach, with just better shit around him where they actually target him, I think he'll be better. They've drafted AJ Terrell. They've drafted Chris Lindstrom. Those are their first round picks. So listen, I trust. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. It's a big risk. I'll give them the benefit.
Cousins, you give them the benefit of the doubt, or are you a little frustrated?
I'm probably frustrated, but this is how the rest of the league lives. Quarterback. They didn't tell me they're going to draft Derek Barnett.
Did you see the video?
Or, you know what I mean? But nobody fucking cares because I'm a defensive end and I'm a rotational end at the end of my career. Quarterbacks that get a lot of attention. It's like the Russell Wilson thing. You go to Pittsburgh, tough shit. That's how most of the NFL lives. Is you don't know how secure your job is when you sign your contract.
Have you seen him put the video of Blank looking like he didn't? He did not
He had a kind of confrontational conversation with their GM.
Arthur Blank?
Yes.
Yeah, but I
after
think
the
that
pick.
also could be taken out of context.
It definitely.
They're not gonna do that in the draft room.
1000%. It could have been taken out of
Yeah,
context.
I think it was taken out of context.
But just the timing of it, that looks kind of crazy.
And another thing, say Jordan Love, to the people that say, hey, you can't pick a quarterback at 10 that you're not going to play for 2 years. Say Jordan Love was the 8th pick in the draft, okay? So?
Yeah.
You'd be fucking fine with that because the reason the Packers were in the playoffs and beat the Cowboys this year is because of Jordan Love. So like, it's hindsight. However, if this guy's an NFL quarterback, you will not be sorry.
Yeah.
And I have a soft spot for Michael Penix, and I feel like football fans are all the same way where they're rooting for this guy. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's the domino that leads to the funniest pick of the draft at 12, which we'll get to with the Cowboys.
So we spoke on Odunze at 9 to the Bears. We like that. And then we had a trade. Vikings move up, surrender some draft capital to the Jets to go to 10 and pick J.J. McCarthy. How we feeling? J.J. McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold.
Best situation for a quarterback to go into by far. Justin Jefferson with
good
O'Connell
ones this year.
Yeah.
How fucking Drake May is the perfect quarterback that the internet's going to be like, stop caping for Drake May, right? But I'm already starting because I'm looking at these other quarterbacks, man. They got these great setups. I'm happy for these guys. JJ McCarthy getting to work with Kevin O'Connell, like we're obsessed with that dude. We think he's awesome. So you've got a number one wide receiver, and I don't just mean number one receiver. I mean probably the best receiver in the game. You've got a great tight end.
Didn't they add
you have bookend tackles?
Aaron Jones?
You have bookend tackles. You add Aaron Jones. You've got security. So if Sam Darnold, who I think has some gas left in the tank, if you want to play him for a little bit, you can get the sequencing right. I think this is really great. It all comes down to, can the fucking quarterback play? If the quarterback can play, I mean, just a little bit. Because look at Minnesota last year. We watched them go toe-to-toe with Detroit multiple times with backups, dude. If you can throw the ball a little bit, you're going to run that offense well. And I think JJ throws the ball really well in the intermediate area of the field. He's not going to wow you, but I do think he's a guy who can get it where he needs to go underneath and 10 to 20 yards down the field.
And the Vikings moved again, got Dallas Turner. It feels a little bit like C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson light. They went and got their quarterback and then a guy on defense.
Well, it's interesting. And those two teams have had a little bit of interplay, but like you're also looking at probably they end up with Grenard right up in Minnesota. They send their defensive end Hunter down to Houston. And honestly, I look at Turner, and I'll admit I'm not jumping out of the gym for him, but impressive kid, long guy that he's really twitchy. That's kind of the guy they just lost to Houston.
Costly mortgage for the Vikings, though. No second, third, or fourth round pick next season.
I bet you. I wonder what that says about next year's draft. I'm sure there's a calculus there.
Relative value of draft should be considered. For sure.
Well, and the quarterbacks we're talking about next year are right now.
Well, where do
Shador Sanders
and Beck, shit like that.
Beck.
Yeah.
Shador can only go to a couple places according to his dad, right?
Oh well, where did O'Connell come from? Anybody?
L.A.
L.A.
Okay, fuck them picks.
Yeah, right.
So, the run on fuck them picks has begun maybe in Minnesota. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, we got the Jets now.
Jets took offensive tackle Olu Fashanu.
I like the guy, okay? No. I like the guy. Yes, I'm friends with Marcus Hagans and Anthony Poindexter, two of the best coaches in the entire fucking country, who invited me up to Happy Valley, gracious enough to host me in that awesome city. And I got to stand right next to this big son of a bitch. He is a fucking prototypical NFL tackle looking dude. Now, is he going to play like a football player? He's just got a lot of skill. I want to see him play physical. And I think, honestly, with the building he's walking into, this is a just in case I have my job in a couple years pick for the Jets. Because if you were thinking win now, you would have thought go get like a Brock Bowers type thing, right? Like let's just win now. But they are picking like they're still going to have their jobs in a couple years, which I like because I like Joe Douglas. I want to have his job because tackles can take a year or two. And if this kid can turn into what I think he can be a guy that you're like, okay, maybe I fucked up the Louisville pick on Becton because of injuries and that sort of thing. There's a lot of pressure on him to get this one right. You don't want to go 0 for 2 there.
Right.
Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, both 33 years old, but nice couple of
And he
tackles
could
there
play
in New
guard
York.
too, I believe.
It's great to have some time, man, as a rookie.
He's also informed everyone that his last name is Fashanu,
Yep.
not Fashanu.
There we go.
Fashion.
So that's important.
Reed, I can't remember what happened at 12. Can you remind me?
Bo Nix, which at first it was a little questionable, but I've come around because
The
This
headline
is
is-
so
learned.
fucking funny to
The
me.
headline is you think he's hot.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
that's it.
You guys are picking the
You
worst.
think he's
the
hot?
NFL's
He's the
picking the worst
furthest-
picture. The
just-
NFL's picking the worst picture to throw.
Guy looks
there.
like
You look at some other
guy who used to
pictures?
lifeguard in 03.
You want
Yeah,
to
a
tell
hot
me
dude.
Nah, bro.
A hot dude
Nah, you
out
don't
there
look
in the
like-
lifeguard
So,
position.
anyways, you fucking listen. I don't usually get involved in this stuff. Bo Nix, not a hot person. Dude.
Zach Wilson,
All right?
you can tell me
Zach
he's hot.
Wilson, not a hot person.
Nah, Zach Wilson's kind of
You guys are fucking weird. All right. So here
Ben
we
DiNucci.
So
can't,
here we go.
Not in my head pictures.
here we go. Here we go. Listen, Quinn Ewers now. That's a handsome devil.
Yeah, there you
All right?
go.
So the Broncos. I said it before they picked Bo Nix. What did I say to you, Reed? I can hear you doing what for the next couple of years?
Cussing him.
Yeah.
Just cussing
Cussing
him.
him.
Just
After him.
dog cussing him. Giving an old-fashioned dog cuss every 4 p.m. slot. We're sitting up there watching 3 games at a time. I'm betting them all. I'm on the other side of the Broncos. And Reed's pacing around the room, cussing out Bo Nix. That is the future for the next 3 years. Now, I actually am excited about the pick for you, honestly. I really am. Because Sean Payton thinks he feels just as strongly about the time that he should have
right.
picked Patrick Mahomes.
Damn right.
You know what story I love more than any story in the NFL?
Oh.
You should have seen when I almost picked that guy.
The shoulda, couldas.
Yep.
That is the fucking best story in the league. And Sean Payton did it again with the, hey, this is how I felt about Patrick Mahomes when I almost took him. This is
Do you,
What if-
remember
what
when
if you ever-
do you remember when we had him on? He told us that he had a higher grade on Brady than anybody else in the whole room.
Yes, dude.
But what if he has receipts for all this stuff?
Well, I'd
Would you
love to
poss-
see him. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying
just
everybody's
saying.
got this story. You know, but that's the thing. You have a lot of thoughts about a lot of prospects as you go
Yeah,
into the draft. You
for
could
sure.
be like, man, I love that guy. Maybe you had a phase with the guy, and then
Yeah.
you decided that somebody else was better. But your confirmation bias, your hindsight tells you, oh, I loved him. He was number one. But I do think this could be good for you guys, man. Like,
100%.
honestly, I'm not even fucking around now.
Oh,
No,
Zach-
it's going to be good.
I'm
At
not
first,
trying
I
to
was
sell
nervous.
hope to
He
hopeless.
12th
There's
overall,
just-
right? This year.
That's right.
And,
That's
and
the year
we've
in the pick.
and we've had 12 quarterbacks since Peyton. 12 and 12. That's the
12,
light.
12.
Yeah, that's
Makes
what I have
sense.
to look at.
Makes sense.
You are clinging to this damn Sean Payton thing.
12, 12.
Not only did you not need to have Bo Nix, you could have stuck the Raiders with Bo Nix.
Yeah.
But look what we did.
Hey, that's
We'll
a
be
lot of
all
hair
right.
product in that fucking room now, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Those two
honestly,
guys?
Zach Wilson and Bo Nix are not dissimilar.
Can we talk about his draft room? His
Nuts.
Bo Nix's draft party?
Oh my God.
I couldn't comment on it in the way that I wanted to.
Why not?
Well, I didn't want to say, man, like, it's just a lot of fucking white people in there, dude.
It's like
There was just one brother in there, man. I was like, what the fuck is this
it
about?
looked like the scene.
And everybody was dressed like it was like back in the day. It was like kind of fucked
It
up.
looks like a
dude.
new scene of Get Out.
Yeah, it was like.
Like,
Now I know Bo Nix is cool. He went to high school with Kool-Aid McKinstry, dude.
yeah.
We just interviewed him. They're boys, man. He said they're boys, but that was just a lot of
It's funny now thinking about that draft room. It was like
mayonnaise.
they had a Snapchat filter on them.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude.
like
it was crazy.
like an old fashioned filter.
Hey, and Joe Alt's draft room, were they at a funeral? I mean, that's my homie now because he's been on the show. But a lot of people in like black and, you know, just a lot
Like
of people
the
looking
Eagles
sad,
war
dude.
room. The Eagles
Not
war
as
room.
bad as the Eagles.
Eagles
Eagles
war
war
room
room
looked
came-
tremendous.
looked
What?
awful.
They look like they came from a funeral.
No,
Like,
they look like they're working
fr-
at the S&P 500.
A mandated
No way.
uniform for draft night.
No
Everybody
way.
was in a charcoal
It's not
gray
mandated.
suit.
They just all showed up that way.
Dude, a white button down with no tie.
They moved the same, dude.
They looked ridiculous.
They
there was
looked
there was a
awesome.
female in there. She had the same thing on.
A female?
There was a. There
You
was
can
a,
say woman
Can you
now.
say female?
I can say woman.
You can say woman.
female. Gal.
It's coming back
You
around.
gotta say gal.
That word's coming back around, woman. good. Congrats. All right, so
So at 13, the Raiders
Bro. The Raiders
Stanford Steve's favorite, Brock Bowers. Might see a lot of 12 personnel.
might see a lot of 13 personnel. Pick 13. They got any more tight ends over there? It's going to be fucking ace all day, dude. It's going to be big wing, small wing, little wing. Jimi Hendrix. They're going to have a package called Jimi Hendrix. There's going to be a bunch of small wings.
Well,
There's going to be big motherfuckers all over the place there. I love it, dude.
the two winningest Coughlin Award winners are Michael Mayer and
Bro.
Brock Bowers.
Yo, hey, how bad is Stanford Steve going to simp for a sideline pass in Vegas next year so he can get a picture with both those guys?
Tight end's always open.
Yeah, but I like the pick. I think Pierce just said, fuck it, best available. And you know what? When you've had he woke up last year and said, holy shit, I'm an NFL head coach. It just like happened, right? And he's talked openly about that. And he's been like, man, like there's a lot of pressure on me. I think sometimes just pick a great fucking player. It's the best thing you can do. It sounds easier and said than done, but people get so worried about fit and this sort of thing. But pick the best available football player you can. It's good for your job security. It's good for your team.
This just in.
What?
Quote from Jim Harbaugh,
What?
head coach, LA Chargers. I know the question is going to come up about weapons. We look at offensive linemen as weapons.
Most Harbaugh quote ever.
Harbaugh's like the guy that disarms people on the internet and has been getting flamed for 3 years with the black gloves. And you know the shit that doesn't work, but he's like, try this. It's like Harbaugh's got no gun, dude. He's got a knife in a gunfight. He's in the AFC West, dude. There's the Kansas City Chiefs. How many years is it going to take to load up enough weapons to beat them? Fuck.
We have a little musical interlude now before the Bucks pick. We've missed Brian Thomas, wide receiver, LSU. Terrion Arnold, corner, Alabama, to Detroit. Jordan Morgan, tackle, Arizona to Green
I love
Bay.
the fact that Detroit's like, yep, we have an open wound. Let's get a bandage on it, dude. Like our secondary is a dumpster fire. So good.
Detroit
Then the
was.
Saints at 14 went with Taliese Fuaga.
That's Kyle's favorite player
It
in the
is.
draft, I think.
Guy with little T-Rex arms.
He's up high for you, right?
I really like him. I do.
Yeah, no,
really
I like him too. I worry about the arm thing, little T-Rex arm.
But Jeremiah said he didn't have trouble with anybody.
No.
His arms just measure an inch or two shorter than everybody
He
else's.
just likes to play in a phone booth.
Yeah.
He's got tiny hands. All right, so
And then we get the first defensive player taken, Latu, to the Colts, giving them a pretty mean defensive line.
listen, they're cleaning up on. Well, I'll just say this with the Saints, they're cleaning up for that Penning pick. You know, they got to go get a physical guy. They want a physical guy. The Penning thing didn't work out. Latu, one of our favorite players in the draft. It felt like as time went on, it became everybody's favorite player in the draft. And if you rush the passer and you watch this guy, you're like, man, like somebody taught him how to pass rush at some point. You know what I mean? Like it's different than watching some of these guys who are like high ceiling. Like I watched the guy from Texas Tech get picked last year, and fuck, I whiffed on that thing. I thought Tyree was going to be really good, and maybe he still is. But with guys like that, you're projecting upside. With a guy like Latu, I'm like, if his neck can just be okay, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to get buckets.
Do you think the medically retired thing, he was medically retired by the coaches, by the doctors at Washington,
Are you hurt or are you injured?
became a bit of a plus for him?
Yeah.
Like if NFL teams cleared him,
Yeah.
hey, I was medically retired from
Yeah.
football and I came back, I'm going to be a first rounder.
Yeah, dude. You some intangibles with the guy. I really like his. We talk about this. I said this with DJ the other day. The way I think about pass rushing is the snap starts, there's 5 doors, and the doors are going to open in some sequence, in some random sequence, and you got to know which one to run through in a split second, right? And that's your menu of pass rush moves. I really do believe some guys just run for the same door the whole game. When it's open, they get a big rush.
Yeah.
This guy's going to run through the right door every time. He's not going to get home every time, but to me, he's a field rusher, and that's why I really like him.
In 4.6, 4.40, I know he's not going to be off and running 40 yards at a time.
No.
Athletic guy.
Yeah, athletic dude.
And then at 16, we got the only defensive tackle taken, Byron Murphy out of Texas. Looks like a beast to me.
Buddy, one of my favorite players in the draft, one of my favorite fits in the draft.
Gucci
Yeah,
polo shirt.
yeah. And talk about, you want some new pictures up there in the halls in Seattle, right? The LOB's gone. McDonald's said, fuck these guys. Well, this guy might end up on one of those pictures, man, because I really do think not only is he a really, really good sound player, but I didn't watch all the positions this year, but in watching the tackles, I didn't think there was a bigger delta, from 1 to 2. I mean, he really was a force for them. And yeah, he's got short arms, Okay, Booger did a great job mentioning that there were other guys that have short arms that have had success inside. And I'll say this, the fit part is going to drive this thing. Matabike, same thing, right? He's going to be used the same way. And McDonald knows how to dial up pressure. He's not going to need to always manufacture with guys like this.
And then at 17, the Vikings traded up with the Jaguars. Jaguars trade down to get their man
Fuck them
Brian
picks.
Thomas at wide receiver. What do we think of Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama?
I could be talked into this guy. By the way, I really like this Missouri cat. Remember we talked about him?
Yeah,
he just
Darius
got picked
Robinson.
by the Cardinals.
He could have gone way higher, actually.
Yeah, he's a little bit stiff, but man, he's physical and he is big.
He looks
dude.
like Clowney a little bit.
He's big, bro.
Can play inside and out.
Yep. So we like that.
So we got Dallas Turner to the Vikings at 17.
Okay, Dallas Turner. I mean, I
Maybe
could
a
be
little high
talking-
hipped.
He is high hip. That's the thing, dude.
I
You've
took
heard me
your
say
line.
it 50
Took your line.
times. But you know who else was high hip was Danielle Hunter. And the motherfucker gets buckets with the best of them. And honestly, I mean, like long striders, they have high ceilings, man. You know, so I totally understand the pick. We'll see how he shakes out. They're just basically replacing Hunter with a cheaper talent, right?
Right. And another understandable pick at 18. Bengals decide to protect Burrow with Amarius Mims.
Is it understand? I understand,
Mims?
but is it because they have 2 tackles on the roster right now?
Well, Trent Brown's only in a 1 year.
Or 1 year deal,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he'll be done
Yeah,
after.
he was on a 2-year.
But they're all 6'8". They're all
Okay,
6'8"
yeah.
beasts.
Well, you got a bunch of big guys, but you can play Mims inside while he gets ready to roll. You could just develop him. He's very raw. I think this speaks to how raw he is. It also speaks to the Bengals having the luxury of doing this, right? Of saying like, hey, we want to protect this guy and we're going to develop him. And we might not see our first round pick play this first year.
And Burrow's timeline, unlike a lot of players, isn't the next 2 seasons. It's
Exactly.
the next 15 seasons.
Exactly.
And then at 19, we get the Rams with Jared Verse out of Florida State, guy we saw a lot in the ACC.
Yep.
And by a lot, maybe not once.
Yeah.
We didn't see him actually.
But we watched him.
We watched him.
I like the guy, man. Like, honestly, not dissimilar to me coming out, but a little bit like different frame in that he can win with power. He's got his hips are a little stiff. Like, he's not going to be a natural like edge bender, right? So he's going to have to win off power. And a guy, honestly, I think is a lot cleaner comp. I'm not making that comp. The guy, I just identify with a guy that might not be able to burn around the edge. He's going to have to use his levers, the long arms, that type of thing. If he can learn a swipe, if he can learn some of the mechanics that get your hips turned a little bit better with your hands. Like when I got in the league, Leonard Little taught me a swipe. I did not know how to use a swipe. I was doing it in college, but I wasn't thinking about it. The way you need to think about some of this handwork is it's a way to torque your body and force your hip to turn. And he's not a natural hip turn guy. So honestly, a guy I thought about was Trent Cole. And I don't mean this as like he's going to be Trent Cole, but Trent Cole had tremendous lateral quickness and power. And Trent Cole wasn't necessarily a guy who was going to get 6 inches off the ground at 9 yards and bend the corner and run a hoop. He could do that, but everything he did was off of power. And I think Jared Verse can be that same guy, play chicken type guy, very last second, skinny your surface and get a win.
And now one of the really young, good cores of defensive linemen, Kobe Turner and Byron Young, along with Jared Verse.
Dude, that's
in
huge.
LA.
And the Byron Young guy, like he can run better than he can rush, in my opinion. You know, as far as like he can really run and burn the edge and just like he can chase people down in the open field. This guy's going to win power. You can run a lot of high-low concepts off that, and you have a guy, inside. This is the first time or maybe second time in 12 years that Les Snead's drafted that they haven't had their first round pick be affected by a trade one way or another. So standing pat and saying, okay, we got a pick and we're going to stand pat. That's pretty rare for him. Some people thought they might go up and get Bowers or Byron Murphy, but they stay where they are and they pick a rusher.
Overall, way less trades in the first round than we thought. We got to see our friend Cam Hayward, Walter Payton Man of the Year, announce the Steelers pick Troy Fautanu. They went for a guard.
Which makes a lot of sense. You pair him up with Broderick Jones, who, listen, this guy, I'm a fan of this kid because he can play all over the line. And you just don't understand how big you might, but like that is a huge skill to have at the next level. There are always guys up front injured. and having a guard down and not having anybody can kick into guard, or having a tackle down and not having that guard who can kick out to tackle and have that unorthodox approach to it, but be really effective, that can be so valuable, man. You talk about it's a quarterback-driven league. It's not just about having the best players. It's about having guys that can plug in and play a lot of positions. So adding him to that O-line is going to be a good thing.
Second year in a row that the Steelers have taken an offensive lineman in the first round.
Yeah, well, they liked what they saw in Broderick, and I don't blame them.
And then the Dolphins got Chop Robinson out of Penn State. At
Who?
I like
Chop.
this kid, man. I like this kid. I mean, somebody knows more about him than me in the room, but so at first when I saw Chop, in person, I was like, he's not huge, right? He's not huge, but his measurables were fine. Like, and he ran what, a 4.5? Something like that.
6'3", 254, and he ran a 4.48.
Here's my wonder with him. When he weighed in at 254, I weighed in at 272. Tony Sperano, the late great, with his sunglasses and the whole thing, I walk in there. He's like, how many fucking bottles of water you been chugging? Because he knows your game in the system to try to make weight and that sort of thing. Like, I was 265, but you try to eat, get food in your stomach, and you try to drink a bunch of water. You walk in there, hydrated king, and they're like, man, this guy's huge. I wonder what Chop weighs when he wakes up in the morning, rolling out of bed. 250 is the word I'm hearing. If he's 250, I think he's got a big enough frame where he can add 5-7 pounds. But more than anything, that guy might be quick enough that he can play to his strengths and not have to anchor the way that some guys do. I mean, he's so lightning quick. He's got a multitude of moves. Excited to watch him play. He plays hard.
Right. Now we're back to where we started. The Eagles taking Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, which we liked. We didn't comment on the A.J. Brown extension. How we feeling about that?
Great. Guy's that fucking good. Pay him whatever he wants. It's simpler that way. See Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Okay? They're still kicking themselves over that trade.
Wow.
They're throwing Calvin Ridley at it. They're throwing Traylon Burks at it. Just pay the fucking guy. So, good deal.
And
I wish we could see the green room, the at-home reactions before we pick the player. You learn a lot about these guys the way they react to being picked. Guy who carried himself the best out of any of these cats so far, Odunze.
He did
he's
great.
He's like doing quick thank yous to people in the green room who are congratulating. These
Pac-12 guys, I'll give you another one. Latu.
He's going to be,
because Latu was dapping up every Pac-12 guy.
But what about his haircut? He looked like Julius Caesar.
He's got a great hairline, dude.
The hairline is unquestioned.
What was the Rome quote they had on the draft?
Mel Kiper said, "Rome will burn you."
No.
Supposedly, this is from my dad, Daniel Jeremiah, when the final quarterback was taken, quoted Rambo, and he said, "They're all gone, sir." I was like, that's slightly different context, but all right. So we've got
Jaguars take Brian Thomas Jr. after trading down a little bit.
Okay.
Fill the gap left from Calvin Ridley's
guys. It's
departure.
almost midnight, so we're gonna be rushing through these last 10 here because I got to go to.
Let's just go through these last
that
few
city
here.
I was talking about.
24. Detroit got Terry and Arnold, which they needed a quarterback.
Great.
Makes a ton of sense. Packers get a tackle, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona.
Chiefs are gonna draft a running back. Just joking. I think that's right where they picked Clyde,
yeah.
And then we got the center out of Duke, Barton.
I like Barton.
And he can play any position.
Hey,
good player.
Barton, Hall of Fame.
Wow.
You heard it here, 11:35
April 25th,
PM,
2024.
And then we only know two other picks. We got Darius Robinson, the edge from Missouri, to the Cardinals, which I think you like.
Yeah, I like that kid, man. I really do.
And then what just happened on the TV?
The burner.
Xavier Worthy, here we go. Patrick Mahomes got some fast guys to throw to, and I'm not talking about fast drivers. I'm talking about Xavier Worthy from the state of Texas.
And nobody cares about Dallas, Baltimore, San Francisco, so I think we might be done.
What are you guys wowing me like you don't know what the fuck happened? His number one wide receiver, who was like he was like a monk the first year. You didn't hear shit from him. You were like, man, this guy's got his head on straight. Was like, I want to do 140
look at the baby sleep.
in broad daylight.
Oh, yeah. That was
in Dallas, Texas. And I'm going to get out of the car and walk away like nothing's going to happen to me, bro. like after an accident. I'm sorry. I felt bad for Patrick Mahomes when that happened, man. After everything he went through last year, they were dropping the balls on the field, and then Rashee Rice dropped the ball off the field. Hopefully this kid's good, man, because it's better for the league when Kansas City. Because here's another thing with Kansas City, their defense is not going to be as good as they were.
Right.
Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, two real like catalysts for that defense are elsewhere. And so they're going to have to pick it up and score some points. They won some games last year that put them in a position to win the whole thing because they were holding teams to 20, 23 points, that sort of thing. So they got to score. Got to stretch the field.
Something tells me Jerry goes with Cooper DeJean right here.
Oh.
Are you reading the website?
No.
Really good job not tipping picks, guys.